tired of working on my own. I'm tired of not having someone to bounce ideas off. Obviously, what I'm doing isn't working. Working with you is a lot different than just watching your videos. Actually, being on a call with you, I'm just like, wow, I didn't know I needed this. What you provide is something that I haven't come across before. And it's like a really special program.
Kristen, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and for being my client for the last 3+ months. I'm super excited to share you with my YouTube audience and to share your story. So I actually would love to start if you could just talk about what kind of content you create on YouTube, give us a bit of background on your YouTube journey, and just sort of talk about why you decided to sign up for creative coaching with me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. My channel, I feel like it's still evolving. The way I explain to people is I'm sharing my drumming journey. I feel like there's a lot of amazing musicians on YouTube, but none of them really share the mindset that you go through as well as techniques and the systems. It's kind of funny because when I first reached out to you, it wasn't for continuous coaching. I was like, hey, we haven't talked in a year and a half. My life has changed a lot. Like, let's catch up. And then I remember you mentioned, you're like, yeah, I know we're not on this call for like my 3 month coaching program. Da, da, da. And I was like, wait, tell me about that. What's that like? And as you explain the support that you provide, I was like, that's exactly what I need. And I didn't know I needed it until you told me about it.
And I truly similarly was like, we just chatting. And it was very throwaway. I had no intentions of like pitching you. And so it was a real treat that we ended up working together. And in terms of the support, what I love is that the way the container is set up is that it's 3 months. We do weekly coaching calls and we start the coaching with a 90-minute like session where we create a plan for the 3 months. One thing you and I love to do was actually do editing sessions together. So that's something I actually added to the coaching program as a result of us working together.
Oh.
Yeah, that was just for you, girl, and maybe for the folks if they want it as well. I'd love to hear you talk about sort of the supports that were supportive for you, especially given that you have engaged with other YouTube creators who have created programs and courses and things like that. You're very plugged into that world. So, sort of what was attractive to you about this coaching offer?
What I needed was to not be doing this alone, which is why immediately I was like, I have to do this. It was to be able to be connected to you on a regular basis. So whenever I had any negative or conflicting thoughts, which was my biggest challenge, was like, should I go this way or this way? I could just send you a voice note and be like, hey, this is on my mind, this is on my heart. And then you would talk it through with me. The editing together, that was a lot of fun. And I felt like it made me accountable too, to be like, okay, I need to be intentional about what I'm going to bring to this session. What can I ask you while I'm working on it? We reflect on some of your videos that like I thought was really cool. And I was like, how the heck did you edit in this? Like you gave me a whole like Adobe like 101 best practices in the most fun way compared to just watching a YouTube video.
What I love about coaching is it's a lot of the stuff that I've learned and experienced and the support that I've received, and I get to pass it on because I got to participate in like an Adobe creator camp that taught me all of these things and it revolutionized my editing. And so I'm like, did you know about this? Like I have just so much excitement. I just want to share all of it. I want to save people the time that years of my life. I'm so glad I got to pass that on. One thing I really love about coaching and how I approach it is that a lot of it is about like doing the inner work, dealing with the blocks to our creativity and what causes us to procrastinate, what causes us to, like you said, waffle between different ideas. And so can you talk about like the energy you had towards creating before you started working with me and sort of how that shifted over these last few months?
Oh, it's like night and day. Before we started working together, I was reaching out to a friend who's also a YouTuber, but the way she worked is the opposite of how I should be working is what I realized. I thought that was how I needed to be, and I thought there was something wrong with me because they would be up till like 3 a.m., like editing, like like the type of content that they were like aspiring to be wasn't really in line with what I was working on. And so I felt I had to take these other YouTube creators that I liked and find what's most popular and just replicate that. Like I thought I had to replicate what had already been done. Like I was going through, this is the process, these are the steps. You have to use the formula to be successful, is what I thought. And I had to always be churning stuff out. Woo, that was a lot. And I felt like as someone who's prone to anxiety, I get panic attacks that I work through. That's not the best way for me to create a living. We changed a lot. Like for one, I think the biggest shift was I'm a musician. You helped me with that validation, acknowledging I am a musician. I am happiest when I am creating music. I had to get out of that mindset, that corporate mindset of I need to sit at a computer, I need to be scripting, I need to like go on to the next thing. It got to the point where I was making these drumming videos and I wasn't really playing drums because I was so focused on creating content. And when I started with you, I remember I was telling you, and that was a part of our first call where it was like the goal is to be doing something creative like every single day. We might have been a couple weeks in, and I told you that I'm still not playing as much music. And you're like, okay, this week, don't think about creating a video, make music all week long. That changed, like, that really clicked with me. It was really hard at first because I felt like I was doing something wrong. And then after that week, I realized playing drums, focusing on the music that I'm making with my band, like that's actually the work. Now I'm at the point where I am playing every single day. I'm now in another band, and now it's like, oh, I should bring my camera to practice. Like I'm making my music the center of my videos now.
As someone who has been so blessed by music, to work with you, someone who is so talented, like you talked about your drumming in a way that I thought you were not the star that you are. And then you have a video on your channel and it's your progress in drumming. I think it's just over a year. And I literally, our first coaching call, I was like, why didn't you tell me you were this good at drums? Like I would have been freaking out the whole time if I had understood.
And it was that reaction that really helped me too. Because I was like, wait, me? Like you're
Yeah.
freaking me out.
Yeah.
I'm like, but there's this YouTuber and this YouTuber, but now it's like, no. And I also think about it differently now because before I felt like I had to handle on comparison because I had to be very intentional about like my thoughts. And now after working with you, I'm like, I'm a badass too. Am I allowed to? Sorry.
Maybe I'll do some creative bleeping during those parts.
But yeah, whenever like there was this guy who was drumming with like a cup of coffee. That's not really what I want to show off and do, but like that's pretty cool. And I appreciate seeing stuff like that. But it
Exactly.
doesn't put me in a bad headspace. Like I used to be like, oh, do I even belong on YouTube? Like, look what he did. He's like drinking coffee. And playing drums. But now it doesn't bother me.
There are so many different platforms a creator can be on. And so we actually had a fun thing where we did a TikTok challenge for a bit because you wanted some accountability showing up on TikTok. So I'd be curious about how that was for you, like getting to play with this other platform within the context of our coaching, and also what that experience taught you.
Yeah. So I had resistance to TikTok because I'm gonna sound like a hipster. I was on it before it blew up, and then once it blew up, like everyone who told me that I was being childish for using it was on it. And so I was staying away from TikTok because of that, but it really shifted my thinking and also removed that resentment that I had around TikTok to force myself to use it. When we first started, I remember it was like the first few TikToks, I was putting like 3 hours into a TikTok. It got to the point where I was just casually making TikToks. I was at the gym and I was making a TikTok. And I actually had a friend reach out to me because he loved that TikTok. It was like,
perfect for testing out your pain threshold. I can't breathe.
it showed me that I can make good content and have fun and have like no pressure. I didn't have to jump through all the hoops and do the formula. It doesn't have to be that way for you to be a creator, which was really, really nice.
Something I've worked with some with other clients with is there's such a sense, like you said, of that pressure, which then creates this buildup of and this like blockage of energy so that people are spending weeks, months, years being like, oh, I've been thinking about this thing for so long and I want to do it so bad. But because of the amount of pressure I've put on it, it's just another year has gone by, another year has gone by. And so just to understand, like, you can just have fun. Like you can just put what you want to put out there. You know, it's not a bad thing if it's easy. I know I've experienced that where I just made a video that took me literally that made the whole thing start to finish in one day with a bunch of B-roll and graphics and editing. The whole thing was done. And I was like, is it cheating that it was this easy, because I had this story in my head that like, no, you're supposed to effort and plan and script and research. And it's like, I recognize how that mindset is what keeps us from just creating and having fun, which is the whole reason why we like to create and why we like to be on YouTube in the first place. So it makes me really happy that you came to that by the end of our coaching.
Yeah, yeah, I remember feeling like that too. Like it's too easy. I think I do something wrong? Did I do it right?
It
And then
just flowed.
is it going to be received well? Like I always had that like expectation attached to it. Like I had to do all these things for it to be really good. Going back to the Zach Grooves video I did, I was in such a rush to do it because I was like, I have to be the first person to make a parody about this YouTuber. And I put so much work into it. And it's still today one of my favorite videos I've made. But I had the expectation that that's what was going to set my channel off. And because of that, I was disappointed. But I enjoyed making the video and I'm proud of the video. So why am I disappointed? Because I attached that huge expectation. That just takes away the joy from it.
Exactly. And if it's not joyful, we're not going to do it. So yeah, it's so
I
important.
love that mindset. Yes.
So for people who are watching, who have like, they know about me, they are creatives like you, what would you say to them if they're thinking about signing up for coaching?
I did have some resistance joining, and I think that's natural because of the uncertainty. But I feel like when you listen to yourself, like we've talked about, like your inner voice, like little Kristen, and you have a conversation with yourself, that's helped me figure out like what I actually need and what's really creating that fear. Because sometimes the fear isn't actually making that next step, right? It's like other things that you have attached to making that next step. For me, signing up with you, it was like, oh, I'm going to be losing X, Y, and Z, like this amount of money. Like I quit my job. So money is so scarce right now for me. But then I was like, I know this is what I need. When you're ready, like I feel like you often just know, like I'm tired of working on my own. I'm tired of not having someone to bounce ideas off. Obviously, what I'm doing isn't working. Doing the same thing over and over, it's not working for me. Sometimes just having the validation that you provide. It's been a whole nother, I know I'm on a tangent, but working with you is a lot different than just watching your videos because you do share techniques that have helped heal you and your other clients, but actually being on a call with you, having a normal conversation and you stopping me, being like, hey, let's take a moment and do this. And I'm just like, wow, I didn't know I needed this. Like, I feel like you do such a great job at calling that out, like calling out what's really deep and behind what I'm saying that I normally don't catch myself. That's something a lot of people should know when they do work with you.
Oh, it makes me happy. I'm like listening to this like from the lens of like, okay, I'm making a video, but then I'm trying to remind myself like, listen, Chimdi, as a person who's saying that she had a good time. And I'm like, okay. So that makes me really happy. One thing I loved in our coaching was the way, you know, you are connected to this really amazing network of other, I'm gonna put my
I
hands
saw
down
it.
because I saw
I should say
you
anything.
matching up. You are connected to this amazing group of musicians. Like, I feel like you have other artists and drummers and bands who you like literally have their like phone numbers in your phone and you can text them and be like, hey, what's up? Can you talk a little bit about like how you saw yourself in relation to the people who are literally in your network and then how that changed over our coaching to the point where you were actively engaging with them?
I was going to say, you're a big part of that. You're a big part of that. It was like early in coaching with you, and I went to see my favorite band. I've been following them for like 10 years. I met the lead singer like years ago, and I went to a VIP hangout with them at one of their shows. I ended up connecting with them, hanging out with them in their RV, and then they like texted me to come back and hang out with them some more. I didn't realize how out of the ordinary that was until we talked. When I was going through some of the struggles of like what to do as far as like musicianship, you were just like, why don't you just like text them? They have your number. And I was like, what? No, I can't do that. And she's like, you literally were just hanging out with them all night till 3 a.m. Like, why can't you?
Those are your besties.
Yeah, they like love you. We sat with that for a bit. You had me just type up the text. Like you said you don't have to send it because it was giving me so much anxiety because I just felt like I wasn't good enough and I felt like I would owe something. right? And so I typed it after the call. Of course, I deleted it, but I kept thinking about it. A week later, I ended up messaging AJ. He was just like, of course, like, let's hop on a call. Like, da da da. Like, he was like, I'm free until this time today. Just call me whenever. And I was like, whoa. I was not expecting, like, this guy he's signed to like a really big like alternative rock music label. Like, he's played with some really big names. I couldn't believe it. So I was just like talking to him on the phone, and I was just telling him what I was debating, and he was like, oh, you should talk to so and so. That led to me talking to their drummer, and this is my favorite band. And for him to be like, just talk to our drummer. Like, you met him the other night, da da da. And so I messaged him on Instagram, and I was asking him some of my like drummer questions. And now we were talking last night. He was sending me a voice note last night. And he just loves talking music with me. We were talking about like just general life stuff. And I'm just connected to my favorite band, and it just seems pretty crazy.
It's blowing my mind. I'm obsessed with Hosier right now. I'm just imagining that Hosier's number is in my phone, and I'm like, hey, bro, how's tour going? And I'm like, like it's just a whole different universe, and you're casually in that. And so I'm very happy because I feel like our coaching helped you realize that that's the universe you're in. But you just saying that back to me is like, wait a minute, like it's reminding me of what's possible, which is very cool. And I think even I forgot it. So thank you for expanding my universe. I'm like, Hosier really will be my friend one day. Like, it's possible. Is there anything else you want to share as someone who went through the coaching, as someone who yourself knows what it's like to work with clients?
As someone who has done Tim Schmoyer's like program, I'm a big follower of like Roberto Blake and now Film Booth. Your program, it's a breath of fresh air, because I know I'm just like, you're amazing because you are amazing. But like, this program was really different because I think I was coming into the mentality of, obviously I was like corporate, work hard, hustle. I was all about analytics this, analytics that. It's allowed me to be more like listen to my intuition working with you. And it just made me realize there needs to be more of a balance. Like, it's not all about analytics. It's also about being true to who you are and amplifying what makes you unique. I just wanted to make that clear to people who are all about like the analytics. Like, yes, like there's a lot of information like that, but what you provide is something that I haven't come across before. And it's like a really special program. So I think anyone's going to be like, no one's going to regret working with you. I highly recommend it. Yeah.
I love you. That was so nice.